Welcome back to the Joseph Graham Show. Today I'm super happy. I have Jon Lovgren, and hopefully I said his last name right. If not, he would definitely correct me. I met him with my buddy Rob, which I won't say his last name because I always mess it up. But you've seen him on the show as well. In fact, he asked Biggs, and I'm probably saying his last name wrong too because I do that at times. But Rob said I had to have you on. He's like, Jon is amazing. This is gonna be fun, and you have a new book out. And I want you to say, I think I know what it is, but I want to make sure it's right. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your book, and how you even connected with Crazy Rob. And I love Rob, so I can get away with saying that.
Yeah, yeah. Which one first? Well, yeah, my name is Jon Lovgren. You got it right first time out. Yay. Um, and you know, life story, deep and dark, stormy night, yada yada yada. I spent many years drinking and going down that road, right? Alcoholics Anonymous. Got sober and had that spiritual awakening that they talk about, right? And then it's like, now what? So I started looking into other things, and I went to The Secret, saw the movie The Secret, and then I hooked up with James Arthur Ray, if you remember him, and started going to his seminars. And in one of those, Dr. Joe Vitale did a little presentation on his book Zero Limits about Ho'oponopono, the Hawaiian forgiveness process. And I latched onto that and took it home and started practicing and then not practicing and then, up and down. And I finally realized that it really does work. So it just became, in Hawaii, we call it kuleana, which is personal responsibility. So I pursued it. I moved to Hawaii in 2012 to study it deeper and wrote a book called The Magic Words. Your pathway to peace, joy, and happiness, where we tongue tied all of a sudden, where miracles become expectations, reverse that, right? And so that book kind of does this, and talking story and doing a lot of workshops and working with people, and people have a hard time with it. And the only thing I can come up with is it's too simple. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. It's too simple, it can't work. But if you look in the book, chapter 3, I think it is, about neuroplasticity, then we start to understand how this kind of thing works in the brain, and explains why affirmations also work. People give up on those and say they don't work either. And the problem is you don't do it long enough. It takes, it's got to be repetitious, and it's got to be over a period of time. There was a time when a few years ago when I heard somebody say, anything after I am becomes manifest. So I was going, I think I want to be awesome. So I started saying, I am awesome. Whenever anybody asks me how I'm doing, I am awesome. And people got tired of it sometimes. And there were a few times when I said, dude, I feel like shit, but I'm awesome.
Mhm.
And I noticed about 18 months, 2 years later, I stopped saying it. I didn't need to say it anymore. I began to just embody it, right? And
Mhm.
that's from my perspective. I don't know what anybody else's is. Not very many probably think that, but I don't. It doesn't matter anymore. And that's where Ho'oponopono has brought me to that place of self-love, essentially. And it teaches us that we're all 100% responsible for everything in our lives.
Mhm.
So there's no more blame. And when we take away the blame, then we start to think differently and behave differently and act differently.
Yeah.
Uh, I thought I was going to write a book called Get Pono. That's the name of my website and my brand. And about 8 months ago, I guess it was, I was just driving, meditating, and something came up and just said spiritual bitch slap.
Mhm.
I missed one, right? I got that little spiritual slap. So it hit me, and I thought that was a common term. And I started talking to some people and kind of found out, no, it's not really. And then it's definitely an attention getter. So that's what I decided to name the book. And it goes in and explains how to come into your true authentic self and to own your own stuff, if you will, and
Mhm.
stop being fine when you're not fine, and etc. And then
Yeah.
I have a deck of cards that goes with it, tarot style cards. So they're great
Oh,
for
nice.
conversation starters, etc. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, and I think you said a few things here, and I was just listening, and I was thinking about this. I think there's people think stuff has to be complex. You said it was simple. Forgive, love, say what you mean. And I think so many other times people don't want to take responsibility. So you hit their two big sacred cows. That's why they need a spiritual bitch slap. Because if you think about it, most people would rather blame someone else than accept responsibility. But we know that if we don't accept responsibility, we're not going to achieve anything. And two, we think it has to be hard when in reality, like even in my sales world, I win because I'm boringly consistent. I make the calls, I do the emails, I do the stuff that I need to do to get my goals. But I want to dig deeper there because you mentioned a few things. You're like, I used to say it, but now I embody it. How did you get to that process? Because I've done affirmations, I've read on books on like The Secret and that type of stuff. And I know that the brain subconsciously will not distract from what you say. So if you say something, it just automatically goes toward it. I understand that part. But how do you get people to go from saying it to embodying it? Because that seems to be kind of the path you went on. Or if I misunderstood, let me know.
Well, and I say that because there's no, uh, I don't know of a magic trick or any particular thing that did it. It just, I woke up one day and I realized, dude, I am awesome. And, it is not what other people think of me is none of my business. We start coming into the four agreements, right? Don't take it personally.
Mhm,
And I just realized in that moment that, okay, I guess I own it now. Because when I first started saying it, I didn't feel awesome, right?
mhm,
And that's true with a lot of affirmations, especially you hear people talk about financial and they say, I can't say that I'm wealthy because I'm not. It feels like I'm lying to myself. Well, we have to get past that. That's the same thing. I'm not awesome. I mean, if I ask anybody out there, there might be one or two that would say it. My daughter might say it, but beyond that, hard to say. So, as far as embodying it, I think it's just intuitive knowing that what, I don't really need to say it anymore
mhm,
because, like I said, it took probably close to 2 years of saying it pretty much every day or every time somebody asks me how I'm doing.
mhm.
And does that make sense? I don't. I wish there was
Yeah.
a way to just
No,
say there it
I
is.
think it does. I think it comes down to this. 'Cause I think so many people again make it so hard. Once you become something, you don't have to state it. But when you're in that transition, sometimes you have to state it to get your body to react, to get into a place where you're taking action to do it. Like when I first started, and I'm using sales because that's just the easiest link I can pop in my head right now. When I first started in sales, I was horrible, but I knew that if I just kept calling, someone would eventually say yes. I didn't have to be perfect because I was just failing forward, practicing, talking to John, talking to Tim, talking to Sally, talking to Mary. Finally, oh, wait, Fred wants it? Holy cow, this is crazy because you have to step into that. And then I think that's where my mind goes with affirmations or anything. Our brain is being programmed by us. So if we're always around negativity, if we're always around downers, if we're always doing the depressants or whatever that is, that's coming in. Um, so I think it's key to say stuff about you that maybe is not real yet, but your future casting is what I would say, or
Yeah,
dating, calling things that aren't as though they were, if you want to go biblical, however your view thing falls. I mean, it's the same principles. People don't like that either, but it is the same principles throughout most
right.
of that type of stuff.
Kind of like an act as if.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then in the sales arena, I mean, I've heard it said oftentimes that uh, you need to be willing to go out to get 100 no's before you get that yes. And those are the people that are successful in sales, are the ones that will make those 100 calls chasing that one yes. And
Yeah.
then I'm guessing I'm not in sales anymore because yeah, that wasn't my thing back then. Um, I imagine that number gets smaller too. It's no longer 100 now
Mhm.
before you get that yes. The longer you do
Yeah.
it, the more you do it, you refine your abilities and your spiel, if you will, and so it
Yeah.
happens quicker, I would guess.
But something else changes because I'm going along the line of what you're talking about. So I was thinking about this. You start to embody it because once you made a sale, now you're confident when you talk. So instead of being unconfident when you're talking to someone, you're getting that confident. Then you get another sale and another sale. And now, like, oh, wait a minute, I do know what I'm talking about. So now when I'm talking to you, John, I'm confident you feel like I really know what I'm talking about. Even if I would have talked to you 2 weeks ago and hadn't had the sale, I probably wouldn't have that same embodiment. It's,
Right.
I think it's in anything you do. It's in, if you were trying to get a girl, it's a numbers game. It really is. You had to keep asking until someone said yes. I know that sounds like pretty, not as romantic, but in reality, that's what you, if a guy
That's
wants to go out
pretty
with a
much
girl,
it.
he's going to
Yeah.
just keep asking until someone says yes.
Yeah. Because one thing we know, if you don't ask, it's a definite no.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
And worst case scenario, they say no and you practice, you get better. But I
Yeah.
think that that's life. So do you think this, because this is where my mind goes again. You said, I accept full responsibility for my life. Most people don't like to do that. Most people would rather have someone they can blame. How did you get to that point? Like, where was that epiphany of, like, I've heard Jocko say 100% ownership. I've heard multiple people say this, but it's the same thing. Like, I control who I am and what I allow to affect.
Uh, well, yeah. I don't know that I've heard it that way. Um, just the it was a process with practicing Ho'oponopono and starting to understand it better. And when I first realized no more blame, a lot of times I'll repeat the mantra and then say, how did I create this for myself and why? Because most of the time when we're pissed off at something, somebody reacts to something, right? And they're calling us out on something, and then we're uncomfortable. And so we blame, that's your fault. I feel bad. Oh, dude, wait a
Yep,
minute.
yep,
My feelings are not your responsibility, and your
right.
feelings are not my responsibility. And none of us can make another person feel bad. That's the hard part to recognize is that we choose our own feelings. We're responsible for those.
Mhm.
As far as owning that, it's just, I guess, going through and having some of the healing moments I've had practicing it. It's like, okay, yeah, I had a part in that. And sometimes that part is just showing up and putting yourself in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Mhm.
And I forgive myself for doing that because at that time I didn't know better. So please forgive me. And thank you for the lessons I learned from going through that process. And then more often than not, you won't go do that again, right?
Yeah. So
Typically.
how did you do the forgiveness part? Because I know there's a lot. Again, I know my audience. I know how they are. They're super driven. They're super trying to get stuff done, and they're always hard on themselves. So can you walk us through that part, or was it just simply you came to the point where you said, "I forgive myself"? Like I'm not putting words. I'm just trying to lay the framework here.
Right. Well, maybe this story will help. I had chronic back pain for like 30 years and went through a number of years of the opioid nonsense, right? And I got off that bandwagon and was going down a holistic road and was getting acupuncture one day here in Hawaii. And I was, you lay down, they stick you with the needles, and then they go find
Mhm.
something else to do for a while. So I thought, you know what, I want to see what about this back pain. So I just started repeating, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, over and over and over. And what happened was I pulled up a memory when I was 9 years old. My father was yelling at me, telling me, like, you're a worthless piece of shit. You're never going to amount to anything. He was really pissed. And I thought that's what I heard the rest of my life, right? So I spent a big part of it after I moved out of the house proving that to be true. In that moment, I realized that, oh my gosh, I hurt him so bad. That's how he reacted. Whatever I did to cause him to say that. Because what father wants to say that kind of thing to their son? You know what I
None.
mean? It's not.
Yeah, not on
So
purpose.
then I took responsibility for causing him that pain. And I felt so bad. I started crying in the moment about how badly I had hurt him. And so it was easy to forgive him. And
Mhm.
then I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I'm sorry I did whatever I did to cause him that pain. Please forgive me for doing that. I didn't realize it. I didn't know I didn't know what I was doing. And thank you. Thank you for bringing this to my awareness. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for forgiving me. And when we're saying it, it's confusing because I love you. Sounds like I'm talking to you or another person, second person, but we're talking to the divine within ourselves, right? So it's all about the self. And in that moment, that back pain went away. and has not returned. I mean, I get a
Mhm.
sore back because I'm getting older
Well,
and
yeah, but I
don't pay
understand the
attention to my
difference.
posture. But I don't know if that helps.
Mhm.
The
Yeah, no,
forgiveness
I
is
think
just,
it does.
yeah. And a lot of people say I can forgive, but I won't forget. Well, sorry, dude, you didn't forgive.
Right.
Because the true meaning of forgiveness is as if it never happened in the first place. And oftentimes I'll point to the Lord's Prayer because that's pretty well widely known, right? Forgive us our sins as we forgive those. So everybody thinks they say the prayer and God forgives their sins. Well, they forget that God put a little caveat in there. I'll forgive
Hmm.
you as much as you forgive others.
Yep.
And we forget that part. We just expect him to forgive us for everything. He, she, it, whatever you want to call source.
Hmm.
So yeah, the hardest person to forgive is self.
Yeah.
And my
Yep.
Kumu teacher told me one day, or says often in his workshops, there's two times to forgive: now or later. And so when would now be a good time to
Yeah.
forgive yourself?
Yeah.
But we spend a lot of time. I did, and I see a lot of people, in the community beating ourselves up over something we did that, first of all, it wasn't that big a thing to begin with. But because we beat ourselves up about it, we make it bigger in our own heads. And so the mantra I also call it a thought stopper because you get in that monkey mind, right? Going around and around and around, and you never solve anything. So I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And it stops you going down that monkey mind.
Mhm.
And you can have a
Like a pattern
wherewithal to
break.
take a deep breath and go, oh, okay, I don't
Hmm.
need to go there. I can go anywhere else I want because our imagination is where we're at that point. And that's the one thing we have 100% control over.
Hmm.
So, okay, I don't want to go that road anymore. I want to change it to something happier and funnier. And
Yeah.
please forgive me
Yeah.
for going there.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I think it's hard for people that haven't ever been given forgiveness from anyone else. They don't understand the concept, perhaps. Um, and learning to forgive yourself is the hardest because you can see all your fault that no one else knows. So I think that's kind of why the affirmations there even started to help you get that to relief, which relieves the back pain because a lot of people don't realize is that, and my friend Brian Bogarts talked to him before, trauma will show up in the body in different ways, pain, sore, different
Oh,
things because of things we hold on to. And that, not that your dad meant to, like you said, but when he said that, it like locked into you until you could release it.
yeah. And once I realized it on the massage or the acupuncture table, I thought about it and I was like, dude, you know what? I bet he only said it one time, but every time he got angry after that, that's what I heard,
Hmm.
and so that then I started to believe in that. And that's what happens, right? And that's uh, often the funny part about men and women can't talk very good together, right? We always button heads, but I've learned to say, this is what I heard. Is that what you said? Is that what you meant? Because oftentimes
Yeah.
we don't hear what was said. And, I see a lot of it. I go hang out at the Kava bar here in Hawaii, and we sit around, drink tea, and talk story. And you hear a lot of stuff like that. And a lot of people in conversations listen to reply. They don't listen to what you're
Hmm.
talking about. You can't, and there's quite a few that, dude, I can't even have a conversation with them because as soon as I say something, it automatically goes all right back on them, and they don't
Yeah.
want to talk about anything else. So just like, okay, you know what? Nothing
Hmm.
I can do about it. I'm not going to try to beat it into you.
Yeah.
If you're not interested in anything but yourself, then so be it.
Yeah. Those are not the fun conversations. When you're doing that, I'm like, okay, cool, we're done. Bye. Because I just don't have time for it. I know that sounds bad, but if someone's just going to
No,
talk about them or whatever, I guard my time. That is like the one thing I can't get back. I can
yeah,
make money. I can do fun stuff. I love what you said about changing your mindset or changing your imaginations to thoughts that are in your head. Because if you deal with, like, say, past trauma, depression, whatever, but you start to say other things like, I am happy, I do love myself, I do forgive myself. However, whatever the words you need to do at that point, I think that begins to unlock the healing. Now, I'm not saying you don't need to go and get help. There's some people that do, so don't always full disclosure on here. I never want to tell people that all they had to do is say something because,
No,
the
no,
legal
no, no.
crazies will come after me.
Yeah,
Um, but no, I do love that. I think so many times we get caught up in it though. We get caught up in what we think someone says instead of actually really actively listening. Because
right.
that's something that I think is something I've learned as well. It's why I like doing the podcast. Like you'll hear me say, I think I said earlier, I think this is what you said. Did I miss anything? Because again, I'm seeing it through my filter, you're saying it through your filter, and we're trying to get it to thousands of
On the
people
ground.
listening through
Yeah,
their filter.
yeah, yeah. I think the biggest part of that is people are scared. They have too much fear to let me know who you are, to let us know who they are, however you want to say that, right?
Hmm.
And it took me a while. It was a scary place, and I've since learned that vulnerability is one of the biggest ones, right?
Hmm.
And I think vulnerability is a superpower because when you allow yourself to be vulnerable, and you might be in whatever public situation and something upsets you, and you express that immediately, then it lets other people know that hey, it's safe for me to do that too.
Hmm.
If something brings tears to my eyes, then I don't like run away and go cry. I just, if it happens in the moment, I let it happen in the moment and just share it that way. And I'm seeing some of that. I started a book club or book study, be a more appropriate term, for the spiritual bitch slap, and we meet once a week. And I have a deck of cards that goes with it. We pick a card, and then we talk. Each person goes around and talks about that card for a minute, what they think about it, and then we read a chapter, and then it's a journal as well. So we'll take 15 minutes and answer the questions in the back of that chapter. And then the rest of the time we spend just discussing and talking story about what we wrote and how we felt writing it. So I'm seeing a lot of vulnerability starting to come out with people, and you can see and they say it as well that they're like, holy cow, dude, that was a real eye opener. And I never
Hmm.
even thought about that before, but now that I have, it's not as big a deal as I used to make it out to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, allow yourself to be vulnerable because we all have the same feelings. We may express them a little bit differently, but when we can start to share our true, authentic selves, that's when the real connections happen. Like the people that just want to talk about themselves, they probably don't have a lot of close friends.
No, they don't. I'm sure.
Yeah.
You,
And
you know,
there's
you
been
you
times when
mentioned.
I've just excused myself from the area just because I don't want to listen to it anymore.
Hmm. No,
Let's talk
I'm
about
with you
something else.
100%.
Yeah.
You mentioned something there though that just kind of like pop it being willing to be vulnerable. But I think what you just added a layer that people might not have caught was you have a group where people can be vulnerable. It's a safe space where they can come and you guys are reading the same thing, you're asking the same question, and then I'm sure you're demonstrating the vulnerability to start with, to cultivate that thing. How do you think that that's something that most people need to do to be able to be vulnerable, especially men? Like women seem to have that part a little bit better than us men. I could be wrong. I know I'm broadly generalizing, but women seem to be able to open up and be more vulnerable than men normally, at least in the circles I've seen.
Yeah. Well, women are emotional beings to begin with, right? They're more
Mhm.
in touch with. I don't know if it's more in touch. Yeah, just to your point, yeah, they are a little bit better at it, and it's because we've been taught. Many of us came up growing up. Men don't cry. Don't show anybody how you feel. Don't let anybody know who you are, because they'll take advantage of you. Well, I believe like most of what we learn between the ages of 4 and 12.
Mhm.
The synapses get developed, etc. And then we just spend the rest of our lives basically repeating that, reliving those moments and those ideals and we believe at that time, pretty much anybody that older than us, we tend to believe what they say because
Mhm.
they're older and wiser. And so getting to the place of vulnerability, I think it's just a matter of when you meet somebody that you can trust, and if you can let your tears out or your anger out once and realize it's not the end of the world or it doesn't blow anything up. And it's again, it's like anything else, it takes practice to be
Mhm.
able to do it. And I still have moments where something will come up and I'll kind of like look around, make sure it's safe space, and then
Yep. Yep.
realize it doesn't matter. The whole planet's safe because I'm just being me. And if it, yeah, I had an incident happen the other day that so we were at the bar and somebody Kava bar. I need to distinguish that. The parking lot was full, and somebody parked right in the middle of the parking lot and blocked everybody in. And
Hmm.
I went around like, "Hey, who owns a black Nissan? Who owns a black Nissan?" Nobody owned up to it. I finally got frustrated enough. I stood at the top of the hill and I just said, "Yo!" And I yelled at the top of my lungs, "Who owns a black Nissan blocking all the traffic?" And finally, one lady sitting right there popped up and said, "Oh, I do. I'll go get it. I'll move it." I was like, "Thank you." And I'm not the kind of person that's going to go yell and make an announcement in a crowd like that.
Hmm.
But I reached that point where I had to look around. I was like, you know what? We need to get this car out of the way. And I've already been around once. So sometimes I can't explain how or why I do things. It just happens.
Yeah.
But
No,
somehow
that
I got
makes
the
sense.
strength to do that. And most people said thank you.
Yeah. Well,
But
and if you haven't, I've been to Hawaii a few times. If you haven't been to Hawaii, parking is hard. I've been to Kauai a few different times, and it is definitely hard parking there. I love the island, don't take that wrong, but like they don't have this much
oh,
space, so
yeah. Same thing on the big, I'm on the big island,
mhm.
Hawaii Island. So yeah, same thing. There's parking's at a premium around here.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
they make the spaces. You got about this much room to get out of your car
yeah. If you're lucky, if
if
you're
you can find the
lucky.
space there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So okay.
go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say because we were talking about the other stuff. And you said like 4 to 11 is when people are cultivated. They get kind of like their beliefs or ideas. And I've been going through, and maybe it's just me and my journey, but I've been going through this. If you don't challenge your beliefs, are they really yours? So, like, I grew up in a Judeo-Christian home. I grew up in the country, hard work ethic, Midwestern, you name it, that whole dichotomy. And probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I just started, well, no, probably about 10 years ago, really, I started challenging it and more 4 to 5 years ago. Why do I believe this? Do I really believe this? Does this make sense? Do I believe in Christianity? Do I believe in this? Do I believe I have to keep myself, like that whole thing? I just
Right.
wanted your ideas on that. If you don't challenge your beliefs, are they really yours? Because you just inherit to them. And then the second question is, and I think you've done it, can you change the belief systems that you've been given that maybe aren't for you?
Yeah. Um, the challenging beliefs came to me through. I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. I don't know, 5 6 years ago, and they wanted to do a bunch of stuff, and I didn't want to do it. I was like, no, quality of life. I'm good for a while. Most people die with it, not from it.
Hmm.
So I started doing some right things holistically. And what I realized is that you said something earlier about our feelings go in the body. They go in the body somewhere. Anger is
Hmm.
typically in the liver, and some of it. So I started doing some past life regression therapy and hypnotherapy with a friend of mine. And what I realized was I had been storing a lot of my father's anger. I'd still do it. I have little fits sometimes. I'll trip over a doorstep and then I'll start yelling at myself. You dumbass, pick up your freaking feet. I'm like, well, dude, that's not mine. What? I just tripped. What the hell? It's not a
Hmm.
big deal. Oh yeah, I heard that kind of stuff so many times growing up that we take on that and we own it, right? And then so it becomes what you just said. Is this mine?
Hmm.
And you ponder into it and you go, no, not really. Same thing with whatever the belief system is. Um, and then there's just the way it's always been done. I have a great story for that, right? It's so if you imagine Christmas dinner, right? The whole family's getting together, Mom's in the kitchen putting a big ham in the oven, and the daughter's in there. They're talking story, and mom cuts off a couple inches off one end, and then cuts off some more on the other end, puts it in the pan, puts it in the oven. And her daughter said, "Mom, why did you cut off both ends of the ham?" And mom said, "Well, I don't know why I do that. That's just the way it's always been done. But your grandmother's in the dining room. She probably knows." So she goes into the dining room. "Grandma, mom just cut off a couple chunks on either side of the ham, and she doesn't know why she did it. You must know." And grandma says, "No, honey, that's just the way it's always been done. But your great grandmother's in the living room. So she probably knows." So she goes in to talk to her great grandmother. "Great grandma, mom just cut off two chunks of ham on either end. And she doesn't know why she did it. Grandma doesn't know why she did it. You must know." And great grandmother goes, "Sweetie, I can't imagine in my life why she's doing that. It doesn't make any sense to me." She said, "Back in my day, we had smaller ovens and smaller pans. And so it would look even. I cut a little bit off each end so it would fit in the pan and fit in the oven. And they got much bigger ovens today. I cannot figure out why they're still doing it."
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, uh, and that's a lot of what goes on. And
Hmm.
that happened to me. I remember, I don't know, early years, many years ago, we used to work on our own cars. And I grew up, my dad was a kind of a mechanic, fixed cars. And when he needed to put oil in the car, he got a can of oil and a screwdriver and popped a hole in the top of it. Glug, glug, glug. So that's what I learned to pour oil in the car. I was at a gas station one time getting oil, and my friend was like, "Dude, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, I've got to put oil in the car." He's like, "Here." He handed me an oil spout where you just plunge into the can. I
Hmm.
didn't know any better. And it was a lot easier and a lot cleaner.
Yep,
But
yep.
a lot of what's going on with us is just the way it's always been done. And so, if we can take that one step further, as you said, is this mine? No, I learned it. And I'm not sure it's true anymore. And it's definitely not true for me.
Hmm.
So we can then once we uh, learn that, then we can change it.
Yeah. I think that's what scares people though, because most people don't go too far away from their hometown. Most people don't travel. I am like on the opposite end of that. Like I love traveling. My wife, bless her, has done two cross-country moves with me, once from Michigan to Texas and once from Texas to Arizona, both over 1,000 miles.
Yeah.
Like I like new experiences. I like that's just what works for me, but I think a lot of people are afraid of change. Like they go to the same church, the same school, the same store, the same friend. I
Yeah.
do know a few of the people that I grew up with, but all my friends now are all over the world, not anyone like me. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering if it's that's the scare, if people are just afraid to change, or if there's just people like me and you that are just born to push the narrative and change it.
I would say both. I mean, there's some that are afraid to change, because you see it a lot. And it's heartbreaking, but I see that a lot in relationships where there's abuse going on, and the woman keeps going back, or man. I mean, it doesn't matter. I've seen both sides. The
Mhm.
abused person keeps going back, and I'm like, dude, what the hell? I don't get this. And we realize that the fear of change is greater than the fear of what we know.
Mhm.
I know what's going to happen when I go back. Yeah, it's going to hurt. It'll pass in a couple of days, and then I'll be all right. I don't know what's going to happen if I go away from that. And sometimes that fear is stronger than going back to it. And eventually, many of them do finally move out and get away from it, but they have to get pretty far away often.
Mhm.
And yeah, it changes. It's funny because that's our right the hardest thing to do, and it's the only constant in the world.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Now, well, and it's interesting because I'm going through a change. My mom passed in November. Uh, she had cancer. When I found out, I knew. Like I had just had this weird knowing because I found out in June. I'm like, she's not gonna make it till Christmas. It's just like that weird, how like
yeah,
sometimes you just know stuff. And so, I did all the stuff I could all the time in interacting, but now I'm going through stuff like it's the first Christmas without her. Yesterday was her birthday without her, and it's just really weird. And I'm thinking of all the times that maybe I could have called or didn't. But then I applied what you said because I said, no, I know I intentionally made sure, especially once I knew she was diagnosed, to call her almost every week because she lived away from me, interact with her. We went up and saw her, did different things. Um, and it was like old me would have tripped out and would have like beat myself up because I didn't call her every day, didn't do, you know what I mean? But the new
Yeah,
me, like I'm applying what you said. I was just like it clicked in my head. I'm going through this change, but I'm actually applying and forgiving myself and letting myself be okay with not maybe being perfect. Hopefully that made sense.
yeah, yeah, yeah. My condolences too, by the way.
Thank you.
Um, I lost my derailed. Uh, yeah,
No,
those kind of
we were
changes.
just yeah.
Yeah, we beat ourselves up, and then, um, oh, I know. I was going to say, if I'd have known better, I'd have done better.
Mhm.
Essentially, and sometimes that's all I need to tell myself. You know what? And I get off into the words. There's certain words I just don't like should, and I'm a pain in the ass around the combo bar with that word. If I hear should, I always go shh, 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 because my should is hardly ever true, right?
Right.
And should is what other people think is right for me. And I already lived a lot of my life in those shoulds, and they didn't work very well. I didn't like them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
no more shoulds. And it's funny, but when we start changing the way we speak and feel, then we see, we change here, we change it out here.
Hmm. No, I
So
love
and
that.
should I could, but
Hmm.
and should takes choice away.
Yeah.
Can't is the same thing, right? People say I don't use contractions anymore, very rarely, because to me, cannot sounds stronger than can't.
Hmm.
And how many times if you can't do something, well, you know what, dude, you can. They can't. I have to go to work. No, you don't have to go to work. And you can stay here and party. Can't takes away our choice. Have
Yeah.
to takes away choice. So I would say, well, I'm going to work or I get to go to work, right? Because it's a choice. We forget that we made that choice. It might be miserable and we're doing it because we think we're supposed to, make ends meet. There's a lot of struggle going on. But as soon as we change out of that can't or have to and get to the get to, I get to go to work. Well, that feels a lot better than have to go to work and for
Hmm.
me anyway. And I see it in a lot of people, and they kind of like their step picks up a little bit when they realize, oh, I'm making a choice. I'm in control here, not my boss or my wife or my daughter or my mom and dad, me.
Hmm.
And people forget that, I think, because of the can't what we've been taught. Really, we've been programmed, you could say, and still being programmed with media the way it is, social media going where it is.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah, that
and let's dive into that just a hair because um, it's so funny to me. Like I'm just going to use the news, and everyone who listens to my shows knows I don't like the left or the right. I'm more in the middle. I bust on both sides. But I literally, if I want to get an idea of what's going on, I'll have to listen to like I watch Fox and I'll watch CNN, and I'm like, okay, piecing it here and here. Maybe this in the middle might be true because everything out there, I'd say 90% of everything out there, and I don't watch the news much at all, like every once in a great while because normally it just aggravates me. But everything out there, in a lot of ways, has some propaganda with it, from my
oh,
point of view.
nowadays I think everything. You know what? I don't know what I trust. And I'm same way, right? I like the Native American statement. Republicans, Democrat. Well, dude, they're two wings of the same bird.
Yep. Yep.
So let's see how we can heal this bird.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
like get all of them out that's been there for over 20 years. Let's just start there. I would be
yeah,
okay with that, but we don't have to go
yeah.
down that road. I'm just like, hey, just get rid of all the ones that have been
No,
there
and
for a
I
long
think
time.
it's a good point because uh, I tell people, they get all worked up watching the news, and then they'll come out in public and come to the tea bar, the kava bar, whatever, and they're all angry. And there's a lot of, and I'm like, dude, I don't want that anger, number one.
Mm.
So here's the thing. What can you do about it? Well, nothing. Well, then shut up.
Mhm.
Why are you causing all this trouble for everybody here and making everybody here uncomfortable because you're angry about something you can't do anything about? So instead of that, when you see this stuff, just start saying Ho'oponopono over and over. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. You're not healing the world directly. That's not really, I don't know how to say it now. I want to say it's not possible, but it essentially is
Mhm.
in the long run. But what it's doing is it's when we get those feelings stirred up and we repeat Ho'oponopono, we're healing ourselves. Forgive me for putting myself in this position. Forgive me for watching this news and for reacting the way I am. And I'm sorry I'm doing that, but I really kind of need to know what's going on because I might have to make some decisions. But I'm sorry it's upsetting me. Please forgive me for putting myself in this spot. Thank you. And, when we meet somebody, we're energetically connected to them automatically. And in
Mhm.
Hawaii, those connections are called aka cords, AKA. So even though we're saying it to the TV or the computer screen or whatever, that energy is going out from us, right? And it's going out those aka cords and it heals
Mhm.
on its way out. I don't are you familiar with Ho'oponopono or zero limits?
Um, no. Like I heard you talk a little bit. I've done some manifestation, did stuff like that, but what you're talking about, no.
Yeah. So Ho'oponopono is ancient Hawaiian, and the way Morna Simeona brought it to what it is today, the four phrases. And she had a psychologist that worked with her, Dr. Hu Lin, and he was in the psychiatric hospital where they had a ward of, I think it was like 35 criminally insane people. These guys were so far out there, they had to be chained and shackled. And he went into his office every day, never saw a patient, never saw a picture of a patient. He just took their files, went in his office, and practiced Ho'oponopono. 3 years later, they closed the ward because those patients were no longer a threat or danger to themselves or anyone else. And
Nice.
so, like, holy moly, how does that happen? So that's a good example of when he heals it within himself, the aka cords are connected to them through their stories that he
Mhm.
read. And as a result of that, there's no other explanation that I can come up with,
Mhm.
and metaphysical, whatever, you can go out woo woo, whatever you want to call it. But it's documented, it did happen. And so, yeah, you can't argue truth when you see it in front of your eyes.
Mhm.
And so, I've seen it too. A lot of stuff my daughter will call sometimes and she's complaining or going on about something. And I just practice Ho'oponopono about it. And then not too much later, she'll call back and say, dude, I don't know what happened, but I'm not feeling that anymore. And that stopped happening.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. And she knows it, of course, because I uh, grill it into her. Not really. I don't force anybody. You can't. But she'll call me with some story that's going on. And I'll say, honey, I didn't hear you say you've done all these other things, but I didn't hear you say anything about Ho'oponopono. And she's like, oh, yeah, huh? I forgot to do that. Okay.
Mhm.
I'll start doing it. And then a person I was working with in California, she said she'd her live with her mom and she'd go home and every day they'd just get into scuffles. Rah, 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 rah. I said, okay, next time you go, as you're driving up and pulling into the house and walking up the sidewalk, just say, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Just repeat that on the way up. And so she did. And the next time I saw her, she's like, oh my God, dude, you're not going to believe it. I said, yeah, maybe. What happened? She said, well, I did what you said. And when I opened the door, mom was smiling and handed me a drink, a glass of tea. And
Nice.
what we don't realize, right? We communicate through in Hawaiian, it's a niipili, but our unconscious or subconscious. And we're energetic beings. So we're always putting out energy and bringing it in, law of attraction, if you
Mhm.
will. And so when she's walking up the door all ready for a fight, her mom's in the kitchen already ready for a fight.
It
When she opens
clashes,
that
yeah.
door, those two energies combine, and here we go. We're off to the races. Well, she walked up to the door full of love, humility, compassion, and gratitude. And when she opened the door, that was the presenting force. And her mom reacted immediately to a much higher vibration feeling, not knowing it, right? It's all
Mhm.
unconscious. But that's the thing. I think when we start to practice these kind of things more, we start to pay more attention to those, what a lot of people call coincidence or, you know, the intuitive feelings. Trust it. Trust your intuition.
Mhm.
We're scared
No,
of
I
it, but
love that.
trust it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, that feeling, sometimes I just know things.
Yeah,
It kept being right. So I'm like, okay, if I get this feeling for certain things, then it's 99%. I'm going to say 99% because again, I'm not going to say
yeah,
it's
yeah,
100% infallible, but um, yeah, no, like it's just the weirdest thing. And then I read people for a living. Like I know if I like someone the moment I talk to them. And I
yeah,
think it's what you were talking about, that energy thing. There's certain people I'm great with, and there's certain people I will drive nuts. And they do not want to be around me, and I don't want to be around them, and I'm okay with it. Which
sure.
is it's just interesting. I think I loved what you said though with that dichotomy of she came up to the door with forgiveness, grace, and mercy. You use different words, but that's pretty much what you said. Forgiveness,
Right.
grace, and mercy. I love you, forgive you, thank you. I'm not saying the Honopono correctly. Um, and it was like a pattern break. That's how my mind worked with this. It was like a
Yeah,
pattern break with it because now she didn't have the energy of that fight. So now she could give because she surrendered first, her mom surrendered too.
yeah. Well, and here they say that well, there's four ways to communicate is telepathically, which I believe we still do. We just have lost the ability to tune into it and use it. And then next is visually what we see. And then we notice body language. And the fourth way is verbally. So with the example with walking up to the door, I can only imagine or guess, but walking in the door all angry, you got a whole different body posture when you're
Hmm.
walking in love, humility, compassion, grace, mercy. It's a whole different body posture, right? So we see it right away, and then it becomes safe rather than oh,
Hmm.
that makes
Well, and
sense.
you said something else. I think a lot of people don't feel seen. So if you can make someone feel seen with no judgment, that's a huge gift you can give to people.
It is and heard.
Hmm.
People don't get heard. I feel like that a lot sometimes at the coffee bar. I'd be saying something and just crickets. I'm like, what? Am I even here? Nobody heard me? What? And that comes back to listening, right? We feel the best way I think of that when we feel heard, if I repeat to you what I just heard, then you know I heard you and you
Hmm.
feel heard. If you say something and I just kind of pass it off and go on, you're not sure you got heard. And I think that's why a lot of people, you'll hear a lot of people repeat things a lot. And I think that's why. I mean, I do it sometimes. And I think the reason is I didn't feel heard. So I say it again, even though I was. It just has become kind of a habit. So, point for me is like think about that and maybe pay attention and work on that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I think we all need to. I think a lot of times we think we hear something, and then we just, like you mentioned before, we'll jump to the conclusion that we thought even before actually really listening. So sometimes I've learned this with my wife. I've been married 25 years. Before she would come to me with problems, and I'm a problem solver. The moment you come to me with a problem, I'm going to try and fix it because that's what I like to do. Well, there's times she just wants to come and just be able to talk to me, not fix anything. So I've learned
Yeah.
to ask this now. I'm like, okay, babe, is this something that you need me to help fix, or do you just want me to listen?
Yep.
And whichever you tell me, I'm going to respect that for the most part, try to. I have made mistakes still. Um,
Sure.
and that helps so much because now she, like you said, she felt heard and seen instead of she was trying to just express the frustration or talk to me about something or just get something out, and I'm trying to fix it, and that was not what she was looking for at that point.
Yeah. I do the same thing. I learned it with my daughter. Is like, honey, do you just need to vent, or is there something needs to be fixed here? And sometimes it's one, it could be the other. But if it's just vent, and I'm like, have fun,
Mhm.
let's go. And the thing from I think the reason a lot of people are scared to do that, we're also taught, I believe, to take things personally. And I don't know if you're familiar with the Four Agreements,
Yep,
Don
I am.
Miguel Ruiz. Yeah, that's another big thing is don't take it personally. And if we ask the question, I'm just here to vent, then that gives us that, okay, I don't have to take any of this personally. She might be mad at something I did, but doesn't need correcting, or it might come out in her spiel.
Mhm.
But I don't have to take it personally because she's just venting.
Yeah.
And those are the four agreements. I say with those, four agreements and Ho'oponopono, it's a superpower. Because those are really hard to live to if you think about it. If you start doing your best to live to the four agreements,
Mhm.
yeah, that ain't easy.
No,
Although
no.
do your best. I struggle with that one because I think everyone is always doing their best at any given time, right? Because if you are going to work feeling good, you know you're happy in your relationship, you got a new puppy, and everything's going hunky dory, and you go to work and you're like shining, right? And then a month later, your wife gets in a car accident, and now you got all this in the background, and well, you're not going to do as good a job at work. You're still doing the best you can do, but you got other stuff going on, bro. And I can't be paying attention like I used to. I'm sorry, but I'm doing the best I can. So I guess give benefit of the doubt, you might say, but I just say everybody's always doing the best they can because we don't know what their backstory is. We don't know what they're walking in from. And, you know, they might do a better job yesterday sweeping the sidewalk than they did today. Well, something might have happened last night. They're not feeling good, so their mind's not on it like it was yesterday. I said, yeah.
No,
So,
I think that that key, it's giving people grace to be who they are and not holding them to standards that most of us won't even hold ourselves to. That's the other
yeah,
thing I noticed is that people trying to hold someone else to a standard, you're like, oh, that's something you're dealing with. I just did everything up to my standards. I feel okay, but that's
yeah,
bugging you. Okay, I think I know what's going on here. I'm going to let you just deal with that.
yeah. Here's a mirror. Look in here.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that's your standard,
we've been
not
going
mine.
almost, yeah, we've been going almost an hour. So I want to make sure as we start to land the plane, where can people find you? I know we mentioned the book, but do you have a website or do you have an Amazon link or how can they connect with you?
Amazon, the magic words, or spiritual bitch slap, both on Amazon. And my website is getpono, GETPONO. Pono, by the way, means it really means to be at one with everyone and everything. But the simpler form is to be right. So when I say get pono, I'm talking about get right with yourself. Because I believe when we get right with ourselves, then we don't have any more, we live our lives unapologetically. We don't have to make excuses or explanations or anything. We just be us. And then the rest of the world is, you know, if we're right with me, I'm okay with the rest of the world. And yeah, we're going to get little hiccups and bumps along the way, but they're really much easier to let go of now. We don't get caught up in them. So yeah, getpono.com. I got a couple other websites in the motion, but yeah, everything that I do is there. There's a weekly newsletter that goes out. I send out, or a daily. I send out a daily bitch slap, spiritual bitch slap. And the book has 5 questions at the end of each chapter of reflection points. So the week or daily letters are explanation of those questions, just a little bit more food for thought. I call it food for thought, gourmet dining for the heart, mind, and soul.
I love it.
How's that for cheesy?
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. Well, before we land the plane, is there anything else? I mean, you've talked about a lot of really cool stuff, a lot of different ways people can change their world around them by loving themselves first and all, but is there anything we missed before we let our listeners go?
Hmm. No, I can't think of, you know, if you just, I guess all I would say is, I tell people say Ho'oponopono, you don't have to believe it, you don't have to feel it, you just have to say it. And if you do it long enough, you'll start to see it in your life. You'll start to realize there's something changing. I can't quite put my finger on what it is, but it's probably that. And I would like to add too that there's a contact page on my website, so feel free to reach out. And I do one-on-one or group sessions. Um, anybody's interested in doing that. I do everything by contribution, and so there's no charge, whatever, however, I don't know what it is. I don't know what the value is to you, so you tell me.
Hmm. No, I love that. I think that's actually pretty cool because most people don't do it by contribution. They have a set X. So
Yeah,
no, I think that's great.
and because I'm a stickler for words, I'm going to go back to this. I used to say donate, but when you say donate, what do you think? People are down down and out, right? You got to pull them out of the hole. But when I'm contributing, it's a more positive. Hey, I'm going down this road. You want to join me for this ride?
Hmm.
So I
I
don't
love that.
donations anymore. It's contributions.
Hmm.
Words are power. So or have power.
Yeah.
So pay
But they
attention.
100%
Yeah.
spelling came from spelling word.
Yeah.
Spells, spelling. People don't catch that,
It's
but
all
it is.
magic.
Like it's just, yep, yep,
Magic is real.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Awesome. Well, John, I appreciate you being here. And for all you listening, apply. Go do what he's talked about, and then come back and let us know how it worked for you. Because I know that you won't be surprised. You'll be mesmerized by the fact that it actually is doing it because you did something consistently over time, which helps formulate and gets your mind to actually process and act on what you're saying. Until next time, share this episode with those who need it. Reach out to John and I, and have an awesome weekend.